So now we're going to move on to a different topic entirely. We're going to be talking about ideology. You guys got to stop over there. This is going to piss me off, okay? You guys just got to stop. So we're going to be talking about, and now that's going to be recorded. Another class will be like, oh man, I wonder what happened back there. It's like, stop fighting, you guys. I'll just make stuff up. It'll just be, okay. Maybe, you know what'll happen is these people who do these online courses are like, man, it sounds like it's fun in these classes. I should actually go to the college. I wonder where it is. Okay. We're going to talk about ideology now in a completely different way. Now we're going to talk about ideology sort of very conceptually. And so what I'm going to talk about is ideology on a single dimension, And so this is when we're talking about ideology on a single dimension, I want you to imagine that we have a line. And over here are our liberals, and over here are our conservatives. See, and now, because I wanted to draw it in such a way that it would be forward, see, that works. But now it's on the right-hand side. Screw these people. Sorry. Liberals are over here, and conservatives are over here. That's why we refer to liberals, well, people who talk about this stuff, as left-wing and right-wing. Liberals are on the left. Conservatives are on the right. That's the language that we typically use. So the idea of putting that we can put everybody on a single dimension is basically this idea that if I went ahead like David, if I asked David a bunch of questions about the views that he believes, the things that he believes, that I could go ahead and I could say, I ask him about same-sex marriage, I ask him about taxing, I ask him about the war in Iraq, I ask him a whole bunch of other questions, and then based on that, I can put David somewhere on this line. And I can put everybody on this line. That's what we mean about a single dimension, that everybody's got some place along the liberal to conservative continuum, right? Go ahead.
Just wondering, so moderates fit in right in between?
Yeah, so this is where moderates would be. These are people who aren't really conservative, they aren't really liberal, they kind of have a little bit of both, and they're the ones who are right in the middle, okay? And so the assumption is, sort of the idea here is that if someone is conservative on one policy, right, then they're going to be conservative more or less on the other policy. That people over here are mostly going to be conservative on both policies. People over here are going to be liberal on both policies. And these people are going to be the people who are sort of not really conservative, not really liberal. They're kind of like in the middle, right? And then the other thing about this line, the way this line works, is the closest, like these two people here, person A and person B, do these people have similar views? What about person B and person C? They have very different views. So the idea is the closer that people are together on this line, the more likely they're going to agree on things. And so we use this to go ahead and place people on liberal conservative lines all the time. So let me go ahead and put our line back. Now, I want to talk about different groups of people. When it comes to conservatives, right? When it comes to economic policy, conservatives are conservative on economic policy. And when it comes to social policy, conservatives are conservative on social policy. So I couldn't draw the line in your lecture notes, but see how it goes from conservative over to liberal? Where would you, I know this is a dumb question, but where would you put them on your little scale? Right, I have my conservative and liberal are backwards. So you can either keep it this way or I should have flipped this around. But right, conservatives, if there was a line like from conservative to liberal, they'd be all the way over here, right? And then liberals are, and I'll explain why I'm going over this since it seems very like, duh, Phil. Liberals are liberal on economic policy and liberal on social policy. You guys should probably be writing this down. Just as a suggestion, so that later on, when you're looking at your lecture notes, you'll have some structure to your answers if I ask a question about ideology. Remember, a colon is usually, hey, write something down. That's what that means. Write something down. I mean, unless this is like second nature to you. Now, I'm going to have to make one more change on your notes. I'll show you the change. There's another group called libertarians. Is there anybody who's a libertarian? Hell yeah. Always better when we have a libertarian in the class. Okay, now, no pressure, no pressure. Libertarians aren't liberals and they are conservatives. They have a different perspective. So when you say sort of, let's find out how sort of you are.
Well, like, I kind of lean to the right on a lot of things, but like there are some things like same-sex marriage I'm fine with. But like I do,
Okay, so let's go over this. On economic policy, how would you describe yourself?
less taxes, like kind of. I guess that one's kind of liberal, right? Or is that one more conservative?
No, that would be conservative. Like lower taxes,
Yeah.
right? Government stays out of business. Less government, less involvement in the economy. That's conservative economic thinking. Remember, when I talked about conservatism is the idea that the government is limited. Liberals want it to be very active, conservatives want it to be limited. So libertarians, when it comes to economic policy, are conservative. So let me ask you some questions about social policy. First, same-sex marriage. You have a problem with same-sex marriage? Should marijuana be legal?
Sure.
Seems kind of liberal. Should heroin be legal? Now, just so you know, some libertarians will tell you yes. They would say whether or not I want to go ahead and do heroin is a matter of personal choice. I have the liberty, the freedom to use heroin or not use heroin as I see fit. Why should you tell me that I can't do something to my body? Would a libertarian say prostitution should be legal? Yes. Look, that's just a business transaction between two willing partners. Does that sound liberal or conservative? Liberal. So on social policy, oftentimes libertarians sound very liberal. Okay, so here's where we have this problem now. We have libertarians who on economic policy are conservative, on social policy can be quite liberal. Well, where do we put them in our graph?
In the middle.
Oh, stick them in. I guess you just balance them out. Stick them in the middle. So we'll stick our libertarians over here. Okay. Now, and that's kind of okay because they're kind of far away from the liberals. They're kind of far away from the conservatives. Okay, that makes sense. Now the next group down here, originally I used to do this, and I used to use the book, the word they have in the book, communitarian, until it occurred to me that's not even a real word. I have no idea what the hell that means. So I asked my students, give me a better name for this last category that we're going to talk about. And somebody came up with, I didn't. We now say conservatarian. Right, because libertarian, conservatarian, there's like the symmetry. We got liberals, conservatives, we got libertarians, now we have conservatarians. Don't use this word outside this classroom because people will look at you like, what the hell are you talking about? So this is a made-up word. But in this class it's gold, so you can go ahead and use it. For conservatarians, when it comes to economic policy, they tend to be liberal. When it comes to social policy, conservatarians tend to be conservative. Let me give you an example of a group that sort of fits this. Older African Americans oftentimes fit this category, where when it comes to economic policy, they support redistributive policies, but when it comes to social policy, because they tend to be very religious, they're very conservative on social issues. Well, where would you put conservatarians on our list? David? In the middle. Okay, so here we have conservatarians. And now we have a problem. Why do we have a problem, Edwin?
Because those that have libertarians have conservative economic policy as opposed to conservatarian that has liberal, and they're opposed to each other, so that should mean that they're close together.
Right, because these guys are opposites of one another, but on a single dimension, they both belong right in the middle. That's problematic, right? Because these are two people who disagree with one another completely, and yet the logical place to put them is on this in the middle. That's why thinking about ideology on a single dimension can be kind of problematic, because it doesn't fit everybody. As long as we stay in the world where we just have liberals and conservatives, it's cool. But as soon as we add in these other groups, now we have a problem. Now let me just end with one thing that probably most of you guys won't care that much about, but for those of you who are into politics, personally for me, if I were to draw a single line to describe liberals and conservatives and that whole thing on a single dimension, it would look like this. Liberals would be here. And conservatives would be here. And here's why. I know, Nick's like, what the hell is he talking about now? If you listen to the people on the far left, really, really, really liberal people, and you listen to the people on the far right, really, really conservative people, they sound exactly the same. The other side's the enemy. They're trying to destroy America. They use the same crazy ass language that we hear all the time, like on the radio and in politics. These two groups of people, to me, sound almost indistinguishable from one another. The other side's the enemy. The other side is bad. The other side is evil. The other side has some ill feeling about, people who aren't them. That's what I think, but I'm not going to test you on that. But for those of you who listen to politics and pay attention to politics a lot, think about this the next time you're listening to someone on the far left or the far right talk, and you'll see that they use much of the same language. Are there any questions?